Yes.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadeshatarine. So we are starting. Oh, you cut off the top. Go, there we are. Hare Krishna. Oh, I see. I see. So the opening statement is, today we're going to summarize. We've been giving classes. Bhakta Ramchandra, he's been giving me the opportunity to present. So we've had a few classes, and in this we had classes 2, 3, and 4, each with slightly overlapping but different focuses. And today I wanted to try and bring it all together a little bit and review what we did. And this is an opening statement because it seems to be so important that this material by Srila Prabhupada, Bhagavad Gita, and everyone watching can see the screen, right? Okay. This material energy is constituted of the 3 modes of material nature, and one has to raise himself at least to the mode of goodness before the path to understanding the Supreme Lord can be opened. So in our first class, number 2, that we went over this idea that Krishna consciousness, it's not a mechanical process. So what do we mean by this phrase, mechanical process? Mechanical process means to engage in Krishna conscious cultivation in a mechanical way. We have a checklist, a prescribed checklist of devotional activities. We rise early, we take bath, we attend Mangal Artik, we chant 16 rounds, we do Tulsi Puja, etc., and we attend class. Then if we don't inject into these activities a personal feeling, a loving feeling, where I lost my place. So personal feeling means cultivating what? A sense of personal association with our spiritual master, with Srila Prabhupada, and with Krishna, that we feel their presence. We along, and we have this conviction that Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, they're aware of the sincerity. They're aware of the love that we hold in our hearts for them. And so when we engage with these feelings, with this living sense of connection, then our devotional service becomes personal. We're trying to please Srila Prabhupada and Krishna in a very personal way. Just like if you're in the room with your husband or wife or your children or your friends, and you ask them to sit down and you offer them something nice, prasadam, there's a sense of reciprocation. You give them something, they smile and say thank you. You feel their presence, they feel your presence. This is personal. It's not, it's not that you just put something on the table and you never even acknowledge that they're there. so, so so engaging with a feeling of a sense of a living connection, this makes our service personal, our relationship with Krishna, and rather than mechanically doing everything we're supposed to do. The more that we cultivate this ability. It's a cultivation. We practice. Children do it all the time. They have imaginary friends. But in this case, it's not imaginary, it's a transcendental relationship because Srila Prabhupada is everywhere. Wherever his devotee has a sense that this is my spiritual master and has a personal feeling, Srila Prabhupada is there. Krishna is there. So the more we cultivate this understanding, the more we can approach Srila Prabhupada and Krishna with a loving feeling. And the more that we approach Srila Prabhupada and Krishna with a loving feeling, what happens? The more we'll feel their presence. So this is what we mean by that it's not a mechanical process, but Krishna consciousness is a personal process. Srila Prabhupada says many times that if you look at the deity as stone, the deity remains stone. But that if you think of that this is really Krishna, that deity can talk to you. And that we have so many narratives in our literature to make that point, to give examples of devotees who have had these relationships. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada is in his Murti form. Srila Prabhupada is in his picture. This is in our teachings. And if we are impersonal, then they remain pictures. They remain fiberglass resin. But if we, as we are personal, we begin to have a sense of reciprocation. It's transcendental. So why is it so important that we cultivate that our Krishna conscious cultivation? Why is it important that we have this personal feeling? Why? Because, as Srila Prabhupada writes in Bhagavad Gita chapter 9, verse 2 in his purport, that God or Krishna, we're rendering him some service, yes? But it says that he only accepts the love with which things are offered to him, quote unquote. Okay. This means that the things we offer to Krishna and the services we engage in is good, but they're not particularly meaningful to Krishna because Krishna doesn't require anything. Krishna only wants our love. So what is meaningful to Krishna and Srila Prabhupada is the personal loving feeling with which we offer our services to him. Then we begin to get a sense of reciprocation. Then we know this is a reality. It's not Disneyland. This personal relationship is the essential element in the whole Krishna conscious process. Srila Prabhupada tells us that in our cultivation of Krishna consciousness, the means and the goal, they're one and the same. That the goal, what is the goal? The goal is that we should love Krishna. That's the whole goal of Krishna consciousness. And the means is loving Krishna. So where the goal of Krishna conscious cultivation is to come to the platform of this unmotivated love for Krishna. Unmotivated, not materially and not spiritually. And you go to most churches, synagogues, and shrines, or whatever in this world, people are praying to God, give me, give me, give me. They're seeing that God or Allah or Jehovah or what have you is like Amazon.com. And they're approaching. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that these people are pious, very pious. But this is not pure devotional service. In fact, they're asking for material things, and they're cultivating their material attachment to the things of this world through their religion. So Srila Prabhupada says, if at the time of death one has just the smallest speck of material desire, have to come back here. But through their religious practice, they're cultivating attachment to material things. I need wealth. I need health. I want better job, better car, better house, better this, better that. So Krishna can give all these things, but in this way. So then, and spiritually, people a pure devotee doesn't even ask to go to the spiritual world. All he wants is to feel his service. This all he wants is to be Krishna's servant. You can send me to hell. Is a real devotee. It feels like that. He's not asking for anything. So Srila Prabhupada says in the beginning, we engage in Krishna consciousness because it's give us a nice feeling. I have read that in the last couple of days. But 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 as one advances to be a pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada doesn't have to be here in this material world. What does he need? He has his spiritual identity and has his spiritual eternal relationship with Krishna. But he's coming here to help us. He's being in all of this traffic and craziness of the material world simply to serve Krishna, because Krishna wants us to come home. So and this means of acquiring this demeanor of pure devotional service is to engage with this demeanor in our heart. You see, Krishna only responds to the love. We're like Srimad Bhagavatam tells us we're like leaves on the tree, and Krishna's the whole tree. The leaf can't water itself, and it can't water the other leaves. Welfare activity. But if one leaf waters the root, the water comes back. This is reciprocation. When we begin to feel these loving feelings, we get a sense of reciprocation. The water from the root is coming back. This nice feeling is called the nectar of devotion. This nice feeling, Srila Prabhupada condemns 434 Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada condemns blind following. Oh, this is a nice philosophy and I'm a devotee. And no, he wants us to have realization. That realization will do two things. It will be so nice that our material desires will go away. And the other thing, it will create great faith that I want more of this sense of reciprocation. So therefore, it cannot be a mechanical process. If we do everything mechanically waiting for realization, it doesn't work that way, that Krishna only accepts the love and he reciprocates the love. This is our philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, the first sentence and the last sentence. Oh, here's Srila Prabhupada says in a lecture given in 1973, June. This priti means love in Sanskrit is required. This is the essential quality. Similarly, another lecture in May of 1973. Krishna will see how much you have love for him. Then he will accept, meaning your service. Otherwise, he will reject. The real thing is bhakti, this feeling. Everything must be along with bhakti, devotion, love. Then Krishna will accept. So that's Srila Prabhupada is telling us. Therefore, our first sentence and last sentence is that the reawakening of our dormant love for Krishna is not a mechanical process that you do this, do this, do this, and it will happen. It won't happen. Krishna consciousness is a process in which we reawaken our dormant love for Krishna by loving him. That's how. So then we went that. So I encourage you to, these classes are online, to listen to them and make notes. Try to understand these concepts. Not that it's nice to go to a class just like some people go to a movie. Try to get the understanding. So, what is this thing called love? There was once a song when I was a child. What is this thing called love? So, what is this love? So, in this class number 3, we begin to discuss what is the meaning of love. What is love? And Srila Prabhupada talks about it in his preface to the Nectar of Devotion. And some of the things I've extracted, some of his sentences, Srila Prabhupada wrote, the basic principle of the living condition, we're all living, the basic principle is we have a propensity to love someone. This propensity is present in every living being. In the primary stage, a child loves his parents, then his brothers, sisters, and as he daily grows, he begins to love his family, society, his community, his country, his nation. Even some people love the whole human, what does he say? The whole human society. So after stating that we all have this loving propensity and how this, everyone has, it's pervasive in our family affairs, our community affairs, even in our relationship with the whole world, with you. Srila Prabhupada explains that our loving propensity, how do you see it? What form does it take? It takes the form of rendering some service to the people that we love. Huh? Common sense? But what is the motivating force behind this service? Srila Prabhupada is asking, he's trying to make us think. What is the motivating force behind this serving mood that we want to serve somebody? Srila Prabhupada explains. Every service, Srila Prabhupada writes, has some attractive feature. This something which drives the servitor, the person who's doing that drives the servitor progressively on and on. And what is the impetus? What's the driving force? Srila Prabhupada writes, the impetus for such service is the pleasure we derive from it. Okay? When we make somebody feel good, we feel good. So Srila Prabhupada's explaining, what is this serving mood? This is the understanding of the motivating force that drives our serving mood. Yeah. It's a way, some in the mode of passion, people want to become derive pleasure from the gratifying their senses. That's enough. Everyone else go to hell. So, but uh, but the loving mood is we derive pleasure by someone else's pleasure. This is the meaning of love. To love is to pursue our personal pleasure by contributing to the happiness of somebody else. A person who's engaged in loving service, well, he's not consciously thinking this way. Now I'm going to make myself happy by pleasing my daughter, my son, my mother, my father, my friend. He doesn't think in this way. But his propensity to serve others it's spontaneous. But the driving force behind our inclination to serve, it's the pleasure we get from contributing to the happiness of someone else. In simple understanding, simple words, we're enjoying someone else's happiness. So Srila Prabhupada writes that it is this sense of what we call vicarious enjoyment. You're experiencing someone else's enjoyment, a sympathetic joy. You're taking pleasure in someone else's pleasure. This is what drives the servitor progressively on and on, Srila Prabhupada. This same serving mood is the spontaneous desire of the spirit soul when he's in Krishna Loka, in this constitutional position in the spiritual world. This is what bhakti means. This is the only desire for pleasure, is enjoying Krishna's happiness. And he wants to some way, he can hear about Krishna's pastimes and think it's wonderful or beautiful. And he would like to participate in some way and contribute to Krishna's happiness. This is the same thing, material world, spiritual world. But in the spiritual world, when it's directed towards Krishna, what's it called? It's called bhakti. so where was I, Ron? So there's oh yeah. So in Srila Prabhupada explains in his purport, Bhagavad Gita 337, this loving propensity, it's a irrevocably inherent nature of the soul. We all have it. In Vaikuntha, in the spiritual world, this mood expands in the hearts of all the residents, spontaneous. But when we come into the material world and we come in touch with the material nature, the modes of passion, this is in 337, you can read the purport, that this same love, it's the same love, it gets perverted, it gets turned upside down, it gets, say what you want. And when a white light goes through a red lens, it comes out red. It's the same light, but now it has a different quality. It's the same love, that this lust that we have, this desire for sense gratification, it's love of Krishna being expressed differently. We're not aware, we're in forgetfulness of our real nature, but it's the same love. But now it's expressed as desire for me. I'm the center. So we want to please our senses. We want to please our false ego. What is that? I am a very important person. Everyone should love me. Everyone should serve me. I want to be the most wealthy. I want to be the most powerful. I want to be the most beautiful. And people are even going and having operations to have their facial features changed. Where this is a perverted expression of our real love. So our real love has never left us, nor can we ever be without it. It's just how shall we say? It's there now in this dormant form, the love for Krishna. It's being expressed as love for illusory conceptions of reality. I think I'm not this body, but I think this is me. I want to decorate it. Nice clothes, nice haircut. I read online that the President of the United States spent in his budget $70,000 for haircuts, that he has a false toupee on his head, and because he wants to be loved. So, so in other words, we don't receive now. So Srila Prabhupada explains in his lecture, this love, this prema, is not you have to get it outside. What does he mean outside? Not that it's bestowed upon us, that if I do everything mechanically, all my service, one day from the spiritual world, I'll be blessed with the ability to have love. Srila Prabhupada said, prema is not you have to get it outside. It is already there. It's in you. It is not by artificial means we're getting prema. It is already there. Prema is already there. You're simply misusing it. We're not misusing it, how shall we say, stubbornly. We're actually in illusion. We're thinking that this is me, this body, and I can please this body and this mind, I'll be happy. We're in illusion. So he says, therefore, but we can't be happy in this way, because I can love this body, but it's material, and material nature can't reciprocate my love. It just goes on absorbing, absorbing. And so a person, what happens? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, what happens? This tendency, he calls it kama. Kama means lust, means a perverted expression of this love. He says it burns like a fire. What does it mean, burns? It means that when you give something to the fire, it doesn't satisfy the fire. It gets bigger. He says, it burns like fire, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, and is never satisfied. And it turns into wrath, anger. Why anger? There's a frustration because it's never enough. It's never enough. A billionaire needs to be more. 1 billion is not enough. He needs to. A billion is 1,000 million. He needs more. He can't. So then we're all in competition. Everyone is our competitor for to be the most important, the most powerful, the most admired. So wars. A person becomes a president. It's not enough that the whole country is cheering for him. He needs more. Therefore, let's conquer more countries. And the world has never been without wars in this Kali Yuga. It's all because of this craziness, and it's an expression of love, but it's based on the illusion that I'm this body and I want to glorify this false ego. So Srila Prabhupada says, therefore, we're not happy. This is the process. Prema, this love you have got, but you're simply misusing. But if you take Krishna's word that you give this prema to me, that's the beginning of prema. In other words, when it starts to wake up, you'll feel what your real love is all about. It's not something that has to be added. It's something that has to be wakened up. Wakened up. So what? How does it wake up? As soon as we become sincere, we were already mentioning earlier, we begin to have a sense of reciprocation within our heart. And then we know that this is real. You go to church, a blind follower, I am a member of this or I'm a member of that, and this is my religion. But what membership is meaningless. It's good to be together, to do process chanting together, reading together, class together. But being a member of something, wearing a badge, it doesn't get us to the spiritual world. It doesn't make a connection with Krishna by being so-called officially a member. What we want to have is a sense of reciprocation. What do we want to be a member of? We want to be a member of Krishna's eternal family. That's our membership. And in order to do that, we have to feel that. Okay, so in other words, we don't receive the ability to love Krishna as a benediction in return for some mechanical engagement in a prescribed checklist, do this, do this, do this, do this. You take your car into the service station, they have a checklist. We checked this, we checked this, we checked this. And they check it off when they say, we checked everything, looks good, or you need new brake pads. So we have a checklist that I'm chanting 16 rounds, I'm keeping the regular principle, I attend the class, I go to Mongol Arctic, I distributed so many books, I take prasadam. It's a checklist, but Krishna, everything should be done with gratitude and with this loving feeling and a personal sense of connection. Then we feel reciprocation. Then we know this is real. Okay, so a personal relationship with Krishna is the goal, and a personal relationship with Krishna is the means. We reawaken our dormant love for Krishna. How? By loving him. Because by loving him, we begin to sense that it's real. We get a feedback. So then we become a real devotee. No one can talk us out of it. We don't need big book knowledge. We just have to have a heart. So the third class, number 4, and I encourage you, please revisit these classes, try to understand what's going on. This 4th class, in his introduction to the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Srila Prabhupada writes, if we want real love, transcendental love, transcendental love means that if I'm with you in your room and I can give you something, shake hands, give you a hug, speak nicely, and you can do the same with me. But if we're in different houses or a different city, we can't sense that. But transcendental means that time, material place. Just like in ISKCON, they're saying today, you can't have a relationship with Krishna. With Srila Prabhupada, you can't have a relationship with Srila Prabhupada. He's not here anymore. They're saying that. I have one devotee, god brother, he's living in India, and they're making nice Prabhupada murtis, one particular person, and they're distributing, and he wanted one. But he was not initiated when Srila Prabhupada was here. So they refused to give him a murti of Srila Prabhupada. You can't be a devotee of, you can't worship Srila Prabhupada because you didn't receive Diksha from Srila Prabhupada. You have to only worship someone who's walking on the planet. They're thinking like that. But transcendental means time. Lord Chaitanya was here 500 years ago. I mean, we can't have a Krishna was here 5,000 years ago. So Srila Prabhupada was here 50 years ago. So we can have a relationship with all of them because it's a transcendental business. So so Srila Prabhupada writes, if we want to have real transcendental love, we have to transfer our love to the supreme lovable object, Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead. And this is the whole basic principle of Krishna consciousness, quote unquote. This is the whole basic principle. The basic principle is that we have to love. Without love, we miss the whole basic principle. It's just a philosophy. Very nice philosophy. But we want to realize that philosophy. The whole basic principle is that we have to, quote, transfer our love from all of these material illusory objects of our affection, my house, my job, my clothes, my car, and my body, to you have to that affection. We have to start transferring our love to Krishna and Krishna's pure devotee. In our fourth class, we discussed the prerequisite qualifications now. Because people say, but I have no love. Yes, we have love. We do have love. But how is it being expressed? In the mode of passion, it's being directed toward, Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, this kama, this lust, which is just a way that love is expressed when it's in touch with the mode of passion. That he says that the enemy, when an enemy comes, they try to take over your fort, they pass your moat of water, they climb the walls, they take possession of this. He said, in the same way, this lust, this kama, takes up residence in the senses, in the mind, and in the intelligence. Lusty intelligence, Srila Prabhupada writes in the third chapter, Gita. Lusty intelligence. What is intelligence? It's our sense of direction. Intelligence is like our GPS. Mind accepts acceptance and rejection. That's the function of the mind. But on what basis does the mind say, yes, I want this, it's good, I don't want this, it's bad? The intelligence is telling us, giving us an orientation in life. And then the mind accepts and rejects. If the intelligence is telling us that a new car or a new set of clothes is then the mind will go shopping on Amazon.com, what have you. So where am I? So I'll go back to the text. So there's a prerequisite that as long as we're in the mode of passion, we can't help it. In the mode of passion, lusty intelligence makes us cause lusty intelligence induces, this is a quote, lusty intelligence induces the spirit soul to acquire the false ego. Put it in English, we have lusty intelligence. It forces us to think this stuff is me and I got to satisfy it. That's lusty intelligence. So then how do, this is called the mode of passion. This is a self-centered business. So in the mode of goodness, different things come up. So let's read a little bit. When we come to the mode of goodness, it's not pure spiritual life, but things change. We start to, in the mode of goodness, you have things like humanitarianism. You have philanthropic activity. Altruism. You want to feed the poor. You want to give them clothes. You want to open a hospital. You want to give them education. You want to help them in some. This is people. Why they don't think that I should do this. They enjoy it. They do it because it gives them pleasure. Their serving mood gets expanded like that. So this happens when we, in other words, when we go to the mode of goodness, when we ascend to the mode of goodness, instead of being a self-centered or selfish person, a me-first person, we start to take pleasure in being of service. So as we read in the other section of the today, that Krishna consciousness is only a matter of transferring this serving mood to the real object of our affection, to Krishna. A pure devotee walks among us, talks among us, leaves us literature, lectures, everything, and he explains that this is very nice. You have this serving mood. Now you've come to the mode of goodness. The real object of your... Now apply the same mood to Krishna, that you want to take pleasure in his pleasure. You read about, you hear about Krishna's pastimes, and you take pleasure, and you wish that you could participate. You wish that we could do something to please Krishna. So we offer him some nice food preparation. We offer him Artik ceremony. We offer him kirtan. We're glorifying him, singing and dancing in his presence. Just like people, they go to these arenas, football stadium, and there Trump is having a meeting, and they're all Trump, Trump, Trump. And we're saying Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. It's the same thing. We're taking this serving mood, glorifying somebody, and we're transferring it to Krishna. So this is what this class is, number 4, that these are simple concepts, but how do we generate this selfless, loving feeling in our hearts? We have to, as long as we're dominated by the urge to serve our senses, the spontaneous desire to be of service to others, that desire to be of service to others, no, it's placed on hold. We have no time. We're too busy with our being selfish. That's a mode of passion. The whole world is like that. So this desire for sense gratification, a desire to be service to others, they're two mutually exclusive. A person who wants to satisfy his senses, he has no time for others. He's busy. Person who's serving some others and taking pleasure, he's not thinking about himself. They're mutually exclusive. In this way, the desire for sense gratification, yes, it's like a steel door. It stands between us and the spiritual world. Because as long as we have this self-centered desire, we can't be devotees. We can't approach Krishna because Krishna only accepts the love with which things are offered to him. And a person who's in passion, who can't get enough, never enough in passion. He wants, and he can't be satisfied, so he's wrathful, he's frustrated, he's angry at somebody, they didn't honor me. I'm angry. So it's not possible to be loving towards Krishna as long as the mode of passion is like that. So what we're saying, when the heart yearns for satisfaction, this desire for sense gratification, What is it? It's a desire to be satisfied, a desire for satisfaction of my heart. When my heart yearns for satisfaction, if a person is in the mode of passion, lusty intelligence comes forward in him or appears, and it says, I'm your best friend. I'm telling you how to be satisfied. And maliciously is directing me toward satisfaction of my senses. But it's a scam. Is it promising something that can never be fulfilled? It's a promise that keeps me imprisoned in the cycle of birth and death. It's a scam. So fishing. So Krishna, he confronts this challenge. He says there's a different way to go. And the problem is not the love is there, but in the mode of passion, it's like that. It's taking you in the wrong direction. So, so Krishna explains to Arjuna that as we learn how to establish ourselves in feelings of satisfaction of the heart, then without even trying, one becomes free proportionately from the desire for sense gratification. Just sit for a minute and think, now I'm calm, now I'm happy, now I'm peaceful, now I feel serenity. Take a deep breath and feel internal peace. Krishna says to cultivate this. I'll show you verses where Krishna says, because this is the mode of goodness. That's why Krishna wants us to be Brahmins. That's why Srila Prabhupada wants to create a society of Brahmins, because only Brahmins can have this internal peace, which frees them. It frees us from this mad desire for sense gratification. Why does it free us from the desire for sense gratification? Because the person who's internally peaceful is already satisfied. So it's like the springboard. You know, when we went to school, where there was you jump on the springboard and different toys in the gymnasium. The springboard into spiritual life is the mode of goodness, wherein the Brahmanical class begins to cultivates internal satisfaction of the heart, which frees him. And so we'll go back to the text. So Krishna, he sees this challenge, and he says that my intelligence is telling me I need more of this and I need more of that. But Krishna tells us that he explains to Arjuna that as we become established in feelings of satisfaction of the heart, we become free of desire for sense gratification without even trying, without separate endeavor, because the heart is satisfied. Thus, the intelligence is telling us that satisfaction is in obtaining something, getting something, satisfying my senses. But if a person becomes satisfied within himself, different traditions have different practices for this, and Krishna talks about it in different places. In 1842 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about the qualities of the Brahmins. And the first quality, the first and foremost quality is samo, peace. Inner peace, that's the quality of the Brahmin. And then samodamastapasocham. How does he do the austerity? By grim determination? No, because he's already satisfied. He can be austere. The peace is the beginning, is the first quality because it enables all the other qualities. Patience, he can be patient. He doesn't need his immediate gratification in this way or that way. So cleanliness, he's clean inside out. He's not dirty with enviousness for someone who has something else that he doesn't have, or someone has a better position, or someone has more recognition. He's clean. Shocham. Arjavameva cho. So jnana vijnana. When jnana, knowledge, it's written in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna that when it comes to the mode of goodness, they see things in the right perspective. He can embrace the philosophy. He's not carried away. So many things. So that's in 1842. Krishna is praising this quality of inner peace. And then in 17th chapter, verse 16, Krishna uses a word. He talks about the austerities for 15, 16, and 17 verses of that 17th chapter. Krishna said, so he says, there's austerities of the body, austerities of the mind. So the austerity of the mind, he says, what's the austerity of the mind? He wanted the austerity of the mind. He says, he used this word, mana. Mana is mind. Mana prasada. Prasada. Hey? Oh, the mercy. Mana prasada is translated in the transliteration word for word. You can see in the verse 17:16. Mana prasada. Satisfaction of the mind. Satisfaction of the mind. But in the text where Srila Prabhupada said writes what Krishna is saying, he changes the word from satisfaction of the mind. He says serenity. Just think the word serenity and close your eyes for a minute and say serenity. Try to feel that. It's a Brahminical quality, is it? So Srila Prabhupada, so Krishna says in 17:17, you know what he says to Arjuna? He says, if you cultivate this quality of inner serenity, you can do it for my pleasure, not for yourself. Do it for me, Krishna says. And he says, that is, quote, the austerity of the mind in the mode of goodness. Krishna is telling Arjuna to cultivate Brahminical quality. Now let's go to the 18th chapter. 1851 to 53. 1854 is very famous verse. Brahmabhuta Prasanatma. Brahman platform, the Brahman platform. Liberation, not devotional yet, just understanding that I'm spirit. Brahman platform. What does it do? Prasanatma. Joyful within the heart. One becomes satisfied inside. And what happens? Next line. Na sochati, na kankshati. No more lamentation. No more desiring for anything. Why? Because he fulfilled inside. And Krishna says, we'll come back. Krishna says, and then he sees everyone else as spirit. He makes no discrimination. So he sees everyone as spirit. Cats, dogs, humans, butterflies. He sees everything as, because he sees in terms of it. Srila Prabhupada used this slogan, not slogan, aphorism. What is that? Atmavan manyate jagat. Atmavan. Van means to possess, like a Bhagavan means the possessor of Bhaga, opulence. Opulence is Krishna has. Therefore he's called Bhagavan, because he's the possessor of opulence. Atmavan, the possessor of the qualities of our mind. As we possess certain qualities, manyate jagat. We see the whole jagat, the whole universe, the whole world. How? In terms of the quality of our own mind. When we feel our own beauty, We see that beauty in everything and everyone. So Krishna says, Sama sarveshu bhuteshu, Brahmabhuta prasanatma, na sochati na kankshati, Sama sarveshu bhutesi, Sama sarveshu bhute, all living entities, he sees them like that. And what is the result? Mad bhaktim lampate param. Now you can be a devotee. Now you have this lovely feeling in your heart. You can start to have this serving mood. It'll be spontaneous if you can come to this platform. But how does one get there? That's 1854. If you look at 1851, 52, and 53, the whole process is described in detail, how one cultivates the mode of goodness, and it produces or generates this platform of internal pleasure. And so it says in 1853, oh yeah, 1851 to 53, Krishna, he elucidates this process, this cultivation of manasa. He uses these words. You can look in the book. Manasa, control the mind. How? By being absorbed, how much? Nityam. Krishna says, 24 hours, Srila Prabhupada translate. Nityam. And then he says, what is this? How does he control the mind for 24 hours? Dhyana, there's asan, the Eightfold Mystic Yoga persistence, asan, pranayam, and then these inner stages of meditation. Dhyana is one. So what is this meditation? Dhyana yoga para, in a meditational trance. So he said, Krishna is saying, you control your mind all the time, 24, by being in this meditational trance. Of what? Shanta, inner peace of the heart. In this way, Krishna says, if you control your mind by being absorbed in this inner peace of the heart, in this way, Krishna says, one becomes free. In those verses, you'll see, of attachment, free of hatred, free of false ego, free of false strength, free of false pride, free of lust, free of anger, free of attachment to these material things. Why? Because he's satisfied inside. And then and in the purport to these verses, 1851 to 53, Srila Prabhupada's first words: when one is purified by knowledge, he understands how these variables, I'm looking for words, how these aspects of material nature work. That's knowledge. He keeps himself in this mode of goodness. And this way he becomes the controller of his mind, not by grim determination that I'm going to be an austere, or I'm going to be an ascetic, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to complete my japa. No, he excuse me. So Srila Prabhupada says when one is purified, he understands how these things works. He keeps himself in this mode of goodness, whereby he's free of all these things because he feels this lovely feeling within himself. So then Krishna's last words in 1853 are, if you do this, his last words are, you'll reach what? Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. And it's translated into English. You look in the text. Such a person is certainly elevated to the position of self-realization. In other words, one begins to experience himself as spirit soul, which Krishna describes in 1854 as the Brahma Buddha platform. Krishna's first words are, he's referring to what we talked about in the earlier verses. He says, in this way, your heart becomes free to engage in my devotional service. Mad bhaktim labhate param. So, why does Srila Prabhupada want us to be Brahmins? So we can wear a 25-cent piece of string around our neck, or to have a certain rank in somebody's community, or somebody's a Brahmin. People want to be Brahmin. Being a Brahmin has very little to do with the thread. Being a Brahmin means having this quality. Why? Because then you can become a devotee. Because then you can become, I can become, then you can become, we can become devotees when our hearts are filled with bliss, filled with self-satisfaction. It's material. But it's it's not like passion, which is a poison, which is the all-pervading enemy of the world, Krishna says in chapter 3. It's beautiful, and it arouses this. We like to give pleasure to other people. You can become a nice person. You're ready to be a devotee because you can transfer that feeling to Krishna. So in other words, the mode of goodness is illuminating and conducive to the cultivation of devotional service. It's a science. It's not a sentiment that now I'm a devotee, I'm a member of this this whatever church or temple or membership group. It's not about that. A membership don't get, you say, you go to Krishna Loka with your membership in your hand and you say, I'm a member, let me in. They say, go back. You don't have it yet. So free from the desires for sense gratification, and spontaneously inclined to take pleasure in Krishna's pleasure, to take pleasure in the happiness of others, one becomes fit for transferring that very same serving mood to Krishna and taking pleasure in Krishna's pleasure. So this is so simple. So the conclusion is that Krishna consciousness is not a mechanical process, that if you do everything right, you're going to get a label. Like you buy fruit in the store, they have a label. It's on it. It's official, or a zucchini, or a cauliflower. It's got a label. Because you don't become. You don't be Krishna conscious. It's not a mechanical process in which you officially get something for doing something. We're not rewarded with devotional advancement in return for obediently following a checklist of prescribed practice. They're good. If you go back to some of the classes, Srila Prabhupada says it'll give you a sense of liberation. If you chant even mechanically, japa, it'll give you a good feeling. Your anxieties will evaporate. But he says, but it won't reawaken your dormant feelings of love of Krishna. It won't. So it's not a mechanical thing. So love of Krishna is not something that's added from outside, but we have it, this loving capacity, but we have to learn how to bring it up and use it, transfer. As eternal spirit souls, the propensity for loving service is the eternal inherent quality of the heart. However, in touch with the material mode of passion, the spirit acquires the conviction that I will attain satisfaction and fulfillment if I serve my senses. That's the influence of the material. In this way, we become self-centered. In this way, we become competitive. In this way, we become envious. In this way, I want to be God, number one. You don't do the way I like, what I want, you're in trouble. In this way, we become frustrated. In this way, we become angry, and a whole truckload of unwanted qualities. So, and on top of it, when we're in this way, we become bound by the cycle of birth and death. We create karma, and our heart is filled with material desire. Srila Prabhupada says, when we leave our body, there are people. Srila Prabhupada, you have to understand, is trying to. He wants to encourage everybody. He says, you chant 16 rounds, you do this, you're going to Krishna Loka. But he also says, for other people who are a little more serious, when you leave your body, if you have the slightest pinch of material desire, the slightest pinch, you're coming back. So a person has to be intelligent and decide which side of the you want to sit on. So the modes of nature are malleable. You can cultivate whichever mode you want. Thus, the serving mood for the pleasure of others is invoked by to the mode of goodness. And we're qualified to transfer that to Krishna. For this reason, Krishna extols and worships Brahminical culture. Krishna worships Brahminical. We read in one of these previous how Krishna, the poor Brahmin came to his house, and Krishna put him on the Queen Rukmini's bed, and he fed him with his own hands, and he when the Brahmin fell asleep, Krishna came quiet, and he took the Brahmin's legs on his lap, and he's massaging the Brahmin. Krishna worships the Brahmins, the Brahminical culture, because only Brahmins can become devotees. So, for this reason, yes, as we've heard so many times, Srila Prabhupada says, a Brahmin can become a Vaishnava. Why? Because he has the serving mood and the enjoyment of serving mood. He's ready to transfer to Krishna. As Srila Prabhupada emphasizes repeatedly, so that it's Krishna consciousness. It's a science. We're explaining the dynamics, the way it works. It's not sentiment that I'm a member of this religion. By there's a lizard on the floor has come into my house. And in 434 purport, Srila Prabhupada says that blind following is condemned. You can read that. 434. Blind following is condemned. What is blind following? It means I don't have realization yet. I'm just sentimentally thinking this is great. I like Krishna consciousness. He wants us to become scientists, spiritual scientists, to acquire realization and make our lives successful in this way. Because if you have some feedback, you're watering the root and you're receiving the water. You're giving love and you're receiving the love. It's a reciprocation. Then you say, I want this. I want more. So it's not mechanically, you're not going to get this. But when you love, you get love. So that's a science. So in this class, we're trying to articulate these basic principles, simply beginning to contemplate these understandings. No, meaning maybe you can't do it immediately, like, jumping into the car or something, or a motorcycle. If we can just understand these things a little bit, that's an amazing step in the right direction. It's an amazing, because the mind, thinking, feeling, willing, So first we have to have the concept. That's the scientific explanation, how things work, thinking. Then we said, I would like to have some of this, just like there's ice cream in the freezer. And willing, I want it. So the first step, the first step is to try to understand. The rest will happen because we want to be devotees. All of us, we want to be devotees. That's why we're engaged with each other and in these things, in these classes, because we want to be devotees. So if we begin to understand what's necessary, then the desire starts to generate in the heart. How do I want to do this? Then Krishna will help us to understand how to do this, how to come to this Brahminical position. And when we drive, it came to mind that when we drive on the freeway, right? There's so many signs, so many exits. And you say, you go here, you'll get the gasoline. You go here, there's McDonald's hamburger. You go here, is whatever. So the first step in spiritual life is that if we can understand, and we all do, we're not satisfied, we're not happy. Uh, uh, what we want to point out, some exits, how to get out of this, what we're caught up in. We're born in this material world filled with. Srila Prabhupada says, padam, padam. At every step, problems. At every step, anxiety. So we're trying to show, to explain how to make your exit. So you can what's available to us, and what facilities we can utilize in order to make our journey back home, back to Godhead, make our journey successful. We don't want to be members of a church. We really want to do something. Not everybody. Some people are content to be members. It's very meaningful to them. But member or not member, there's nothing wrong with being a member of something positive. It's good. But we don't want it to end there. Just like Christianity, people go to church on Sunday, people go to the mosque, and a Muslim, and people, they have a barbecue, they have whatever. So they're a member, but their lives don't change. Their lives don't change. So, but when Jesus was there walking, when Muhammad was there walking, people were very hot for it. When Srila Prabhupada was here, people, you heard the kirtan beginning of this, people were hot for it, joyful. So, so but when he departs and it becomes an institution, and the people become members, and they're a member of the church, and then it's enough. They think it's enough. But but we don't want it to become like that. We want to become spiritual scientists. But not everybody's going to do it. If you read the preface of Bhagavad Gita, preface, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, he wrote 1972 edition, last few sentences in the preface. He says, it expresses, we've done so much to produce this literature. And we want to benefit people. He says, if one person actually takes up this process, one person, then he says, I will consider this whole effort a success. In other words, he knows what to expect from from humanity. They were in the material world. we 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 like it. We're always thinking how to improve it. We're not thinking. So he said. So in other words, not everybody, but for those who are serious, they have to begin to understand how, the science of Krishna consciousness. It's not sentimental. It's a science, and not to be a blind follower, and to make use of this, keep ourselves in goodness as a springboard into spiritual life, and open up our pathway back home, back to Godhead. So thank you very much for letting me talk like that. And how are we doing? Did I take too much time?
I think we've been about an hour and 15, 20 minutes. I'm not counting the time, so I'm guessing an approximate.
You think we should do one quote and ask if anybody wants to say something?
Yeah, we can do one quote or two quotes. We
Okay,
have
let's do.
we have another devotee from he has visited you before. His name
Uh-huh.
is Prahlad Prabhu. He's on the call as
Yeah,
well.
Haribo.
Hare
Prahlad
Krishna.
is my friend.
Yes.
Yes. Huh.
As a matter of fact,
Sorry, I joined a little late.
no, that's all right. Uh, never too late. That's the way.
Huh.
So let's see.
Yeah,
What was your non-devotee name before? Patrick.
Patrick. Yeah,
Patrick. So
yeah.
Patrick, when he was visiting me, Patrick really enjoyed prasadam. So we have a joke in the house that when my wife asked me, how do I want to, she makes breakfast, she says, do you want a Patrick bowl or you want a small amount? So, because Patrick really liked prasadam. So, Prahlad Prabhu. So, okay, let's look at that first uh, quote, and then we'll see. Uh, can you put that on the screen, Ron? Ram?
Here,
Okay,
yeah.
so
This is the first one here.
why don't you read, Ron?
Patrick Prabhu, Prahlad, guest of honor.
Yeah, you want me to read?
Yeah, go ahead.
Read slowly.
All right.
Try to.
Engaging in our sadhana practices mechanically is a waste of time. At Yahara Prayashash Cha Prajapo Dhyana Graha
Say, say,
Graha
say niyam. Say niyam.
Niyama Graha
Agraha. No, listen. Niyam.
Niyam
Agraha.
Agraha
Agraha.
Agraha
Niyam agraha.
Agraha Niyam Agraha.
Okay.
Niyam
Sorry,
Then
my
we,
my
Agraha.
eyes I
that's all
usually
right.
don't read small print.
So I'll read and then I'm going to ask you. Niyam
Okay.
agraha. I can't see the whole script. Could you lower it on the screen? Because I see you. Oh, I know how to get there. Niyam Agraham. These are Srila Prabhupada's words in a lecture he gives in 1966 he has a storefront. He's talking to these hippies that are coming off the street, and he's telling them, Niyamagraha means simply to stick up to the rituals, just like people. In every religion, there's some rituals that, in our Hindu religion, the people are advised to observe some ceremonies. We have ceremonies in Krishna consciousness, right? We have
Yes.
Tulsi Puj, we have Artik. In every religion, the same system is there. They go to the temple, you go to the church. Mohammedans, they go to the mosque. Similarly, there are different systems, but if one is simply sticking up to the system. This I almost finished. I'm getting a notice from my landlord. But it was simply sticking up to the system without seeing how much spiritual progress I'm making in my life, then that is waste of time. This is Srila Prabhupada's words, telling them they're wasting their time. This is called niyamagraha, simply observing all the rules. So then he says we shouldn't neglect the rules, but you should not neglect, at the same time, you should not stick up to, meaning you should not just confine yourself to the rules. So let's do the next one, Ramchandra. Let's go to the next one. You can discharge your duty very nicely. We have so many Krishna conscious duty, but you have to see whether you're developing attachment for Krishna. What is this attachment? Attachment, Srila Prabhupada means love. Well, the feeling in your heart, whether you're trying to satisfy Krishna. That's the test. That's how you evaluate your service. If that is not done, simply following the formula, if you execute the formula, as I explained the other day, niyamagraha, without any heartfelt desire to attain satisfaction of Krishna, just like you think, like somebody's in your room and you're trying to please them by offering them a seat, by offering them something nice, prasadam, you're having a personal relationship. So if we're doing these things without this heartfelt feeling, then Sutta Goswami says it's simply laboring and waste of time. So Prahlad Maharaj, what did put this, what we've been reading in your own words?
In my own words,
Yeah. How did you hear? You heard this. What do you think Srila Prabhupada's telling us?
it has to be personalized. It's like, well, one of the first things that came to my mind is when Srila Prabhupada said about like the janitor or the street sweeper. There could be two street sweepers.
Yes.
One's doing it for Krishna, and the other's doing it just because it's his job or he's told to do it or whatever. And there's a gulf or there's an ocean of difference between the two.
But what about the person who's in the temple and he's given the job of sweeping the floor? Then he can also be in two ways, right?
Correct.
How?
Well,
Put that in your own words.
It just goes upon the sincerity of the person and how pure and how intense or eager the desire is to please Krishna. Because again, someone could be at the temple, do this, do that, go do the dishes, go sweep the floor. You're a superior or someone told you to do it and you're like, okay. Or you could say, I want to do the dishes, I want to sweep the floor because I want to please Krishna. There's many people who live in the temple just so they can eat, sleep, live for free. There's many people who do that. That's not a unknown new thing.
I see.
Right?
I don't know. It's been a while for me since I've been there. But so the person who's doing for Krishna, how does
the engagement and the consciousness, these things are, I think, missing, these elements, and that feeling of, okay, I'm rendering this service and this is pleasing to the deities, to Srila Prabhupada, so I should stay clean. This is for an offering of love and affection.
Okay, so what if the temple president tells me that Krishna really wants this, and if you do it, Krishna will be pleased, and because you want to please Krishna, you you do it, but you don't feel Krishna's presence. You're in the how do I say, the motivation or the inspiration or the desire is to be pleasing to Krishna, but Krishna is not pleased by the activity, Srila Prabhupada says. He wants your affection. It has to be something you feel, not that it's officially something that Krishna wants. That Krishna only accepts the love which things are offered to him, quote unquote. Does that make sense?
Joy, yes.
Yes. Yeah, it makes sense. It totally makes
Yeah.
sense.
So how can you do that? So one has to feel, because Srila Prabhupada says that Krishna is all pervasive. He's omnipresent. So he's right with you. So
Mm,
that means I have
Yeah.
to, I have to, I have to contemplate that so deeply. Srila Prabhupada says that Krishna is present in his name. So I have to contemplate that so deeply that 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 I'm in awe. I'm chanting the holy name, and uh, and I'm in Krishna's presence. If you go before the deity in the temple, we bow down. So the holy name is no different. It's
mm,
Krishna. So we have to think about these things, and,
yes.
and then we'll be in such a, oh, Krishna from Krishna Loka is right here in my room in this sound vibration. He's giving me the chance to associate with him in person. And you know when all of a sudden he'll appear in front of us? When we have that frame of mind, that frame of heart, then he'll say, yes, I'm here. Does that,
Joy.
and he'll reveal himself to us proportionate to how much we embrace this understanding. But people are thinking that if I keep just doing it mechanically, then one day Krishna will appear. But Krishna is waiting for us to have this feeling that he is here. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
Yes. Yeah, that story of what's his that devotee Dhruva Maharaj, he was given an instruction to chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and he did that, and Krishna appeared before him, and then he realized what he was asking for, and then he gave it to him. You remember that pastime, Ishan Prabhu?
Yes. Then he said, I don't want anything from you. I just want to be your devotee.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
So,
So it's a little bit subtle to articulate,
yes, yes, yes.
but to be personal with Krishna is because the person who's in the temple can also follow the checklist and they're all prescribed activities. But Krishna is waiting for us to acknowledge his presence. Srila Prabhupada is waiting for us to acknowledge his presence and have a personal relationship with him, just like I can have a personal relationship with you, or you can have a personal relationship with me. That he's really there. Not that it's rubber stamped that this is officially I'm doing service. This is a prescribed activity, so I'm doing service. And if I do enough of this, one day Krishna will reveal himself to me. And Srila Prabhupada is telling us that if we do it that way, keeping all the formulas, sticking up to the system, it's a waste of time. It's not going to happen. It's not my words. It's our spiritual master. He's telling us we have to. That's why he says, and it's in the last verse in second chapter of Gita, that one can make this cross over this little line of doing official service to making it a personal thing. He says one can do that in 1 second. It's just a matter, Srila Prabhupada writes, of understanding and accepting that. And what do we have to accept? that Krishna's right there, and then do it. A child can do that. Children, I said earlier, they have imaginary friend and they relate to them. But Krishna is not imaginary, he's real. And the more we relate to him, that he's really there, like a child relates to his imaginary friend, then all of a sudden Krishna says, okay, I'm here. Thank you. So thank you for being personal with me. And until we do that, he won't appear.
Mm.
He'll just wait, and we can do this for millions of births. I have one, Srila Prabhupada says you can do that for hundreds of births. It's official, it's Krishna, but it's not being taught properly. We're being told in the temples and in the memberships that if we just do this mechanically, that long enough and strict enough and determined enough, one day we'll be blessed with revelation. We won't, because this is not the process. And not only revelation, Srila Prabhupada calls it a waste of time. Krishna won't let us go. He'll give us birth in a devotional family. He'll give us more opportunities, but he's waiting for us to come to the point of being personal with him. So he won't overlook it and let us go, but we won't have any realization yet. Hare Krishna.